Why America is addicted to credit cards, the hidden system behind a nation of debt. Walk through modern America for a single day. Buy coffee, order food, book a flight, pay for gas, shop online, subscribe to entertainment, cover an emergency. In almost every moment, there is one silent tool behind the transaction: the credit card. For millions of Americans, credit cards are not just payment methods. They are lifestyle tools, safety nets, status symbols, rewards engines, and sometimes debt traps. And that raises a fascinating question. Why is America so addicted to credit cards? Why has borrowing through plastic become so normal that many people cannot imagine life without it? The answer is bigger than personal finance, because America's relationship with credit cards is not just about spending. It is about culture, economics, psychology, and a system designed to make borrowing feel effortless. And once you understand that system, America's credit card obsession starts to make perfect sense. Chapter 1. Credit cards were built into American life. First, credit cards in America are not treated as occasional borrowing tools. They are woven into everyday life. In many countries, people rely more heavily on debit, cash, bank transfers. But in the United States, credit often comes first. Why? Because the system rewards it. Need to rent a car? A credit card helps. Book a hotel? Often easier with credit. Build a financial profile? You need credit history. Even many everyday conveniences connect back to credit. In America, using credit is often framed not as debt, but as normal adulthood. That framing matters, because what becomes normal becomes invisible, and invisible habits become powerful. Chapter 2. America built a culture around borrowing. This didn't happen by accident. America has long embraced consumer borrowing. Homes financed through mortgages, cars financed, education financed, businesses financed, consumption often financed. Debt became embedded in growth. In many ways, credit helped fuel the American dream. Buy now, pay over time, get ahead now. That mindset shaped generations, and credit cards fit perfectly into it. They made borrowing immediate, portable, frictionless, and psychologically painless. That was revolutionary and dangerous. Chapter 3. Credit cards make spending feel less painful. This may be one of the biggest reasons people overuse them. Behavioral economists have studied something fascinating. Paying with cash feels different. You feel loss, you watch money leave, there is friction. But swipe a card or tap a phone, and pain decreases. Spending feels abstract, less real. And when spending feels less painful, people often spend more. That is not opinion, that is behavioral design. Credit cards didn't just enable spending, they softened the emotional resistance to spending, and that changes behavior dramatically. Chapter 4. Rewards made debt feel like a game. Then came one of the greatest psychological masterstrokes in finance: rewards, cashback, travel points, miles, bonuses, perks, lounge access. Now borrowing didn't feel costly, it felt rewarding. People began saying, "I put everything on my card for points." That sounds rational. Sometimes it is. But notice the shift. Debt tools became framed as optimization tools, like a game you can win. That is powerful psychology, because when people believe spending earns benefits, spending can increase. Rewards don't just encourage use, they can deepen habit, and habit can become dependence. Chapter 5. America runs on consumption. This is a deeper structural reason. The U.S. economy is heavily consumer-driven. Consumer spending is enormous, and credit can fuel consumption. That creates a culture where spending isn't just tolerated, it often feels encouraged. Spend for convenience, spend for lifestyle, spend for status, spend for experiences. Credit cards fit perfectly into a consumption-driven culture. They lubricate the system, and the system likes that. Chapter 6. Emergencies. Push many into credit. Now we reach something more serious. For many Americans, credit cards are not luxury tools. They are survival tools. Unexpected medical bill, car repair, rent shortfall, job loss, emergency travel. When savings are thin, credit often fills the gap, and this matters enormously. Because some credit card dependence is not driven by overspending, it is driven by financial fragility. That changes the conversation. Sometimes people aren't addicted to credit, they're dependent on it, and those are not always the same thing. Chapter 7. The credit score system encourages it. This is uniquely American. Want good borrowing rates? You need strong credit. Want mortgage approval? Strong credit helps. Want favorable financing? Credit matters. And how a people build credit. Often, by using credit. Think about that. The system often rewards participation in borrowing. That creates a feedback loop. Use credit to build credit to access opportunity. Opportunity encourages more credit use. Loop. That structure normalizes card usage even further. Chapter 8. Minimum payments. Create dangerous illusions. This may be one of the most misunderstood parts of credit cards. Minimum payments. They feel manageable, comforting, affordable, but they can hide enormous long-term costs. Paying only the minimum can stretch debt for years, sometimes much longer. Interest compounds quietly, balances linger. And because the monthly payment can appear small, the true burden can feel invisible. That illusion traps people, and invisible traps are powerful traps. Chapter 9. Convenience. Became addiction, credit cards solved friction. No cash, no waiting, no immediate sacrifice. One tap, done. And convenience can be addictive, especially when embedded into daily life. Streaming subscriptions, ride-sharing, food delivery, e-commerce, recurring payments. Modern digital life often runs on cards. The more friction disappears, the easier automatic spending becomes, and automatic behavior often escapes conscious control. That matters. Chapter 10. Marketing made credit. Feel aspirational. Credit cards were not merely sold as financial tools. They were branded as lifestyle products, luxury cards, prestige cards, elite cards, travel cards, exclusive cards. Status became attached to payment methods. That was genius marketing. Because once identity enters finance, rational behavior can weaken. People may pursue cards not only for utility, but for belonging, for image, for status. That changes everything. Chapter 11. Interest is the hidden engine. Now here's where the system gets darker. Because credit card companies do not simply profit from transactions, interest can be enormously profitable, especially revolving balances. And this matters because the business model can benefit when users carry debt. That doesn't mean credit itself is evil. Used well, it can be useful, but the incentives matter. Because when lenders profit from revolving debt, the system may not always push people toward escaping debt. That is worth understanding. Chapter 12. Americans often confuse access with wealth. This is subtle, but powerful. Credit can create the illusion of purchasing power, but access to spending is not the same as wealth, and confusing those can be dangerous. Someone may feel richer than they are, because credit extends lifestyle. Until the bill arrives, that gap between perceived wealth and real wealth can fuel debt cycles. Chapter 13. Buy now, pay later. Trained similar habits. Even beyond cards, modern finance increasingly normalizes deferred payment. Buy now, pay later, installments, split payments. These systems reinforce the same psychological pattern: consumption first, payment later. And that mindset can spill back into credit behavior. Again, systemic reinforcement. Chapter 14. Inflation made credit dependence worse. Recent inflation pressures intensified this. When necessities cost more, some households leaned harder on cards: groceries, gas, utilities, essentials. And when credit covers essentials, debt can become harder to escape. This is not lifestyle borrowing. It can become survival borrowing. Very different dynamic. Chapter 15. Credit cards can be brilliant tools. Now this is important. Credit cards themselves are not the villain. Used responsibly, they can be powerful. Fraud protection, cash flow management, rewards, travel benefits, credit building, convenience. For disciplined users paying balances in full, cards can work extremely well. The problem often isn't the tool, it's the incentives and behaviors around it. That distinction matters. Chapter 16. Why the system feels addictive. Put it all together. Why does credit feel addictive? Because it combines convenience, dopamine from spending, reduced payment pain, rewards, status, emergency access, systemic encouragement, and delayed consequences. That combination is potent, very potent. It isn't one psychological lever, it is many stacked together, and stacked incentives can overpower rationality. Chapter 17. Credit cards monetize human psychology. This may be the deepest insight. Credit cards do not merely process payments, they often monetize behavioral tendencies: impulse, present bias, status seeking, optimism, short-term thinking. That doesn't mean people are powerless, but it does mean the system understands psychology very well, and systems built around human psychology can be incredibly persuasive. Chapter 18. Why Americans keep coming back. Even after a debt stress, many keep using cards. Why? Because cards solve real problems. They offer flexibility, liquidity, protection,